I'm getting ready to read chapter 2, and it's some thankfuls. Mr. Scary moved on again. Okay, boys and girls, let's really get started now. If you'll please take out your homework papers, we'll begin sharing our ideas. Who would like to go first? I quick pulled out my homework. Me, I shouted, because I have 4 excellent thankfuls, and not even kidding. Then I sprang up like a spring, and I started to read my thankful list. First, I am thankful for the turkey. I love it Thanksgiving. Second, I enjoy the gravy. Plus, number 3, I am thankful for the kind of cranberry jelly that comes in a can. Oh, and even when you take it out of the can, it still keeps looking exactly like the can. I looked at my teacher. That stuff is like magic, I said. I do not know how farmers grow it in that shape. Mr. Scary stared at me for a real long time. I looked at my list. Oh, and this is my favorite one of all. I said, I am thankful for the kind of biscuits that come in a tube, and then you bash them on the counter, and they come out exploding out, and everyone jumps. Plus, also my brother always starts to cry. I grinned real big. That is just a fun bunch of biscuits. My friend Herbert jumped out of his seat. I can't believe it, Junie B. I'm thankful for those biscuits too, he said. He quick grabbed his homework page and held it up. Look, see, it's right here on my paper. Exploding biscuits. And after that, me and Herb did a high five and a low five and a medium five. Also, we did a fist bump. A fist bump is when you knock your knuckles together. Sometimes it can be painful. May threw back her head at us. Oh, no, she said. That cannot be true. You copied each other. I know you did. Who in the world is thankful for exploding biscuits? All of the children thought for a second. Then one by one, they all started to shout. I am it too, they shouted. My friend named Sheldon Potts sprang up from his chair. Me too, he called. One time I ate 6 exploding biscuits right out of the tube, and they weren't even cooked yet. All of our eyes popped out of our heads, because that was the greatest exploding biscuit story we had ever heard. We looked back at Mr. Scary. His eyes were stuck on Sheldon. You're a fascinating little boy, Sheldon Potts, he said. Yes, I know. You keep telling me that, said Sheldon. Mr. Scary smiled. Then he turned to the board and he wrote the words thankful list. Okay, Junie B, how about if you pick out your top 2 favorites and we'll start the list off with them? I stared at my paper, very thinking. Then I told him my 2 favorites, and Mr. Scary printed them on the board. Cranberry jelly in a can, number 1. Number 2, exploding biscuits. He took a step back. Well, just as I thought, we're off to an interesting start, he said. He turned back to room 1. As we continue, if you brought a long list, please just pick the 2 things that you are the most thankful for, okay? Okay, we shouted back. My friend named Lenny waved his hand to go next. All right, Lenny, your turn. Tell us the number 1 thing in your life that you are most thankful for. Lenny yelled it out. Nipsy Doodles, he said real loud. I love Nipsy Doodles. Mr. Scary's face went funny. He did not move for a minute. Then finally his eyebrows raised to the top of his head. Nipsy Noodles? Len? He repeated, kind of quiet. Really? That's the number 1 thing in your life that you're thankful for? Nipsy Doodles? Lenny nodded. Then he checked his homework just to be sure. Yes, he said, Nipsy Doodles is number 1. He smiled. They are a tasty little cheese snack, unlike any other. Mr. Scary nodded very slow. Yes, I know, Lenny. I've heard the commercial, and I'm sure they're very tasty. But just out of curiosity, what is number 2 on your list? Lenny's face started to beam. Number 2, rainbow sprinkles, he yelled. All room 1 started to clap because the whole world loves rainbow sprinkles, of course. Mr. Scary didn't move again. Then finally picked up the chalk and he added Lenny's 2 thankfuls to the list. Number 3, Nipsy Doodles. Number 4, rainbow sprinkles. He stepped back and took a big breath. All right, righty, let's take another look at what we have here so far, he said. We have 4 delicious food items, don't we? But just remember, there are other things to be thankful for, too. Right, boys and girls? Right, we said. We thought and thought. Like what? We said. Mr. Scary chuckled. Well, for one thing in our country, we're lucky to have freedom, he said. Freedom is one reason the Pilgrims came to America. He looked around the room. Did anyone put freedom on your list? On your thankful list? All the children looked at their list. Then everyone shook their heads no. Roger stood up again. We're always 6. We really don't have any freedom. He thought for a second. I'm not even allowed to cross the street by myself. Me neither, said Shirley. I have to stay in my own front yard. Jose raised his hand. I have to go to bed at 7:30, and half the time it's still light outside, he said. Herbert stood up too. Well, wait till you hear this one. I have to eat cooked carrots, or I don't get a cookie after dinner, he said. Just then, Sheldon slapped his hand on his desk, and he shouted real loud, and I am forced to take a multivitamin, he hollered. Does that sound like freedom? Mr. Scary Quick held up his hand. Okay, calm down, everyone. I get it, he said. He looked back at our thankful list, then he nodded at us very thoughtful. Boys and girls, you are absolutely right. You are first graders, and you can be thankful for whatever you want, he said. This list should be exactly what you want it to be. Not me, not the contest judges, not anyone else but you, he smiled. Thanks for showing me that, he said. You're welcome, we said back. We are a polite group. Mr. Scary looked happy again. All right, who would like to go next, he said. And remember, whatever you say will be perfectly fine with me. Sheldon jumped up. Toilet paper! I'm thankful for toilet paper, he shouted. Mr. Scary's eyes got big and wide, but he quick snapped out of it, and he printed the words on the board. Number 5, toilet paper, he said. Sheldon grinned real excited. We're going to win this contest for sure, he said. He did a thumbs up at number 1.